Hey, what's up, Yoon fam? It is I, Mark Yoon, and I'm hopefully bringing another exciting video today. So what I got for you today is the weapons that Hwang may be returning with for Soul Calibur 6, if he in fact is correct in being the last DLC part for Season 2, which I do believe he is, because that's what it says in the data files. But we haven't seen him in a while, actually since Soul Calibur 3, so what weapon will Hwang SeongKyeong have if he comes back? Now, he's usually a hodgepodge of other characters. He started as a replacement for Mitsurugi, using a lot of his stylistic moves, and then moved on to a Chinese blade, and then eventually a Chinese sword, and he mixed in Shanghua's swords with a little bit of Taekyon, in with Mitsurugi's moveset. So we know about that. And there's no doubt that if he is released, they are going to, I guess, somewhat modify his moveset, give him a few of his own more unique moves, and try to streamline or switch up some of the moves that he borrowed from Mitsurugi and Shanghua, similarly to how Amy or Siegfried does it to their counterparts. So obviously we know that in Soul Edge he wielded the Blue Storm, and in later games he wielded the Blue Thunder, and his fighting style is the Huangxin Gadashu. Now we know that he's obviously used more weapons, and he's got 8 weapon slots in the actual data files. So let's go over a few of these weapons that he could possibly have, and I'm going to show them on screen, and we can follow along together. We have Blue Storm, King Long, Po Shan, Nippon Blade, Lei Yan, Mountain Breaker, Thunderous Fire, Falchion, Sword of Dawn, Midas Blade, Phantom, Dragon Sword, Bonebreaker Sword, and Blue Thunder. Now, obviously, any of these weapons could be comprised into his actual moves, and I think that we might actually get a majority of these. Now, there's a couple that I want more so than others. Like, we can see a lot of his cool weapons here, especially from Soul Edge. But I think the Nippon Blade, which more looks like a wakizashi or a short katana, it's a curved blade, so it lends more to being the actual gum or Korean sword like I showed in my video where I redesigned Hwang. So it would be really cool if he actually had that for his main, just so he can actually have a little bit more, I guess, honesty with the character. He can be like more like he's supposed to without wielding a weapon from another country that he probably wouldn't have wielded. So that would be my first choice, is to have the Nippon Blade. And obviously, we want to see Phantom come back. Everyone remembers that invisible long-ass sword that was almost undodgeable, so it would be cool to see that come back in some way, shape, or form. Maybe that is his 8th weapon slot, who knows? We do know that those are usually reserved for the either joke weapons or the fusion with Soul Calibur / Soul Edge weapons. So any of those could all be viable options. Hopefully we get all 8 back, and I just want to see this character really fleshed out with a new moveset. Now moving on to his stage. So in his stage, he had the Music Con in Soul Edge, and it was the Horangi Airang, aka the Yellow Sands, and it was also known as Desert Path. And he also, in Soul Calibur 3, had a stage that was originally in the console versions designated towards Lizard Man, and that is the Silk Road Ruin, and the background music for that was Beyond the Horizon. I would like to see either of those come back with him as the stage, though more likely than not it would be Desert Path, because that's his own designated stage and not shared with somebody else like Lizard Man. But beyond that, I actually would want to see a new stage for him. So maybe in the Song Dojang, the Seungmina's father's dojo, in which they all train, they all being Hwang, Gyeong Seong, and Seungmina. It would be nice to see that actually implemented into the game. We don't have many, or any at all, really, like straight up Korean stages, so it would be nice to have one for all 3 of the characters to at least share in some way, shape, or form. And then the last part of this video that I wanted to address, guys, is the writing of his name, or the pronunciation of his name. So I've seen some people say, well, how come they used to spell it Hwang SeongKyeong in Soul Edge? And there's a very viable reason for that. So I'm going to go along and I'm going to show you the actual Hangul, which is Korean, and I'm going to tell you how it's pronounced this way so it's easier. If you guys don't care about this part, obviously you can skip the end of the video. I just thought this would be interesting for the people that asked, so we're going to begin with that. So the first character in the Korean alphabet, otherwise known as Hangul, that we have to start with is the H sound, which obviously is going to be called hyut. So that's how hyut looks, and now we need to combine it with O to make the W sound, which would be with A, so Hwang, right there. So you have hyut, O, A, and Eong, which makes an NG sound at the end of a word. Then we have shiut, all, and Eong again, which makes song. Then we have gyuk, y'all, and Eong again, which makes kyung. So that kyung is obviously the pronunciation for what they use in Soul Edge, and there's a reason for that, but it's a lot less than what people would actually expect. So that's actually pronounced gyung, because that's a soft G or a soft K. There's a different character called kyuk that's actually used for the hard K, for a k sound, but I'll show you that at the end of the video. So now we'll go step by step. So first you would obviously write the hyut, and that makes the H sound, so that's the h in Hwang. And then we need to go down for his second vowel character, which I'm just showing the order of writing, which would be O. But when you combine O and A together, it makes Wa. So you would have O and then A. So if you want to make the sound with your mouth and do the shape, it would say O-wa, wa, wa. So that's why when you put those two together, it makes a Wa sound. And Eong, if you have it at the end of any sentence, makes an N or a G sound. So that would be obviously. Now if you see it first, all Korean words have to start with a consonant, not a vowel. So if there is a vowel sound that's the first part of it, then you would put Eong first, and it has no sound because you just need to lead with a consonant. So that's Hwang. Now obviously the second part of his name is Song. So you would actually first do the shiut, which is their alphabetical letter for an S sound, but it's more of a soft with a sh, because there's something else called sang shiut, where if you put two together it makes a hard S, it would be s. So we are going to stick with the sh, and that is the vowel for all. So it would be written out, when you pronounce it, you would pronounce it as all, but you would write it out as E-O. Just like if you would write my name, because my Korean name would be Yoon so the all at the end is E-O. And then we finish off again, obviously, with Eong, which I hopefully don't have to explain right now anymore. So when it's at the end of a sentence, it makes an N and a G sound, hence the name Eong, and that would be song. Now here's the point of contention right here, so we're going to show you how to write it, and then I'll talk about it later. So this is called gyuk, and gyuk makes a soft G or a soft K, so it's more of a G than a K, or a G. It's just a G, a soft G. Now that looks familiar, right? So that looks like song, right? In the old one, it looks like all. Now that second line that adds underneath actually gives it an additional vowel sound, and that adds a Y sound to it. So now that vowel with the extra line becomes yaw. As we can see here, you combine all, you add the line, and that immediately gives it the Y sound, and now it becomes yaw. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys want me to actually do Korean lessons, and I may actually do them for you, if you're interested. I don't know if anyone's interested. I might have to make a separate channel, because I don't think anyone cares. And then we finish off again with Eong. So that's going to be the NG, so that is Gyeong. So we have Hwang SeongKyeong, which is his full name. I know a lot of people call him Hwang, but that's his family name. That's like if you would just run around calling me Yoon. If you want to actually go about saying his full name, it's Hwang SeongKyeong, and his actual name would be SeongKyeong. Okay, so I'm going to break this down a little bit more for you guys, and I'm sorry for those of you who don't care. I just thought this would be interesting to talk about, since someone did ask me about why his name was different in Soul Edge than it is now. Also, you don't hyphenate Korean names. That's something that was done when they were being registered in America, and people didn't know how to write their names properly because they technically have no middle name. It's just their first name and their family name. so they would hyphenate them to make it easier for Americans to read. So anyone from actual Korea will tell you that you don't write their names with hyphens. If they write in English or romanization, you do not use hyphens at all. It's a little disrespectful, and it just brings up how they weren't welcome when they first came. So you would write it exactly how I showed you earlier with Hwang SeongKyeong. There's no hyphens. And that goes for all the Korean characters. So Seongmina is actually Song is her family name. That's why her stage is the Song Dojan, her family name. And Seongmina. It's not Mina, it's Mina. So that's her actual name is Mina. Because there's always like 3 parts to it. Like mine would be Yoon Jin So, so it'd be Yoon Jin So. There's no hyphen. So we start with the hyut, and I just wrote the opposite way of how you write it. You could put a line up, vertical, or horizontal, and it still makes the H sound. So this box just indicates how you would write something out like that. So you usually break it up into 4 quadrants, and that's how you know how to put the characters together. It's kind of like a puzzle. This was my favorite part about learning or teaching Korean, is how to put the order of things. So you would put it from left to right, and usually you would start out by making a quadrant box like that. So I'm just going to show you how to write his whole name in that proper way, so that if you're trying to do it yourself or with other Korean names like Seongmina or Hwang Gyeong Seong, you guys can try that on your own. And it's Yoon Seong, by the way, guys. It's not Yoon Seong. The character that is used for his name is Yu, which is the same as my last name, Yoon. So it is Hwang Yoon Seong. We're just going to go right here. I'm just going to try to make a straighter box because it looked a little ugly last time, but obviously you don't have to make a straight box. I'm just doing it for presentation purposes. One of the classes that I did teach at my school that I was just recently teaching at was Korean, so that's why we use these ways to actually teach people how to write in Hangul, which again is the Korean alphabet. Just going to change up the colors so you can see the difference. Alright, so obviously for song, we're going to start with shiot, which is the S sound. And then we have all, and finish with eong. So see how it goes together in those quadrants? If there's one character at the bottom that finishes it up, that's called a bachim. And if there's only one bachim, then it goes in the center of the 2 quadrants like that. So we have shiot plus all plus eong equals song. And that's how you would write it together. And we're going to move on to the last part, which is probably the most important part, which is why was his name different in Soul Edge than it is seen later in Soul Calibur 3 and whatnot. And the contentious point is going to be the Hangul character Gyeok. So Gyeok, like I said before, it makes a soft G, and we can see here that I wrote out Gyeong, right? So we have the soft G. Because there's, like I said, there's a different character for Kyeok, which is a harder K. So if his name was pronounced Hwang SeongKyeong, it would have a different character, but there's no name that I know of like that. So just starting with Gyeong would be just the regular Gyeok. So remember, guys, when you're writing this out, you want to actually use the Gyeok, which is the soft G, not the hard K sounding one, which would be Kyeok. When we get there, I will show you just exactly how to write it here, just in case. So here we have it. If you actually wanted to write out Kyeong with that hard K sound at the end, it would look something like that. So obviously we're not going to do that. I just wanted to show that for actual purposes. And thanks for sticking with me for this little Korean lesson for how to use his name, guys. Sorry for those of you who just wanted to talk about his weapon style. There's actually not much to talk about, except for because he's only been in like 2 games, technically 3, and he's utilized other people's weapons, so it's nothing really new unless they give us some drastic changes outside of kind of his funky swords or his basic Korean weapon, which is the Nippon Gyeong, which I actually want him to have back. And Nippon is not the name of it either, because Nippon's a Japanese word. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to a close. I hope you found it, well, this one wouldn't be so much entertaining as educational, I guess. Sorry about that. Put on my teacher glasses for a minute just so I can help you guys out with that. I know this was a little bit boring for some of you, so if you didn't like this one, I'm sorry, but let me know in the comment section down below if you found it helpful, or what weapons you would like to see Hwang use or come back with. Do you want him to stick more or less with his old moveset, or would you like to see him completely revamped, as unlikely as that possibly is? He's probably going to get some new moves, but I doubt he's going to be completely revamped. With that being said, guys, we're going to video to a close. I want to thank you guys for watching, and as always, thank you, and thick you. Hey, what's up, guys? Have you always wanted some sweet Mark Yoon merch? Maybe a thick you shirt, maybe a shirt from Squirt, maybe my pretty face with my logo all over your body, or a throw pillow, or blanket, or anything? Well, you're in luck, because I just launched my merch store, and it is going to be available on Redbubble, and you will find a link to it in my description box down below. It's got a lot of quality content, and a lot of good stuff for you to pick up, so you can show your support for the channel, and just rep Mark Yoon.